I made a boss rush game in only 1 month to win $1,200 plus. It all started with the Boss Rush Game Jam, a 1-month-long game dev challenge where developers have to make a game that primarily contains boss battles under a certain theme. And this year's theme was...
Newly chosen theme, Spin.
So I quickly got working on a game design document, and with the help of my good friend Level Up Book by Scott Rogers, I was able to pull off a pretty good 10-pager design document. Here's what I'm scoping for. The central clock tower, also known as the Time, has been broken by a dark force also known as the Clockwork Overlord, whose intentions are to bring a new order into the multiverses. All the guardians inside the tower have been corrupted and they will stop anyone who interferes with the Lord's business. The player, a Gear Timekeeper who are some warriors of time, goes on an adventure to defeat the Lord and restore balance and peace. So to put it in simple words, my idea of a boss rush game about a spin is to make a bunch of spinning clocks, cogs, and platform for my boss fights. And you'll see how I pull that off real quick. First thing I did was designing the Gear Boy, the player character. So I grabbed myself a pen and a SpongeBob notebook. Now, don't judge it by its cover, I'm about to turn this into a full-on art book. After some time, I ended up with this design, and then quickly transferred it into a 3D model in Blender and gave him some animations. Then using some simple scripts, I made my character move around without an issue. But if Gearborns are sworn warriors of the clock tower, then they probably need a weapon or else they'll get their asses smashed. So I gave him this big ass hammer, and who's laughing now? You can attack in combos and also perform your attack chains in mid-air, which is a new achievement of mine. Then I used Unity's Cinemachine to make the cameras, but I quickly figured out that this gameplay is boring. Running around in circle, waiting for an opening, and then attacking the boss, and rinse and repeat. So I decided to add a shooting mechanic. And oh boy, did this take a shit ton of time. So after a lot of research, I didn't find a good tutorial that will fit my game's camera system. So I decided to use the ultimate weapon, ChatGPT. And with a few hours, or maybe even days, we managed to pull it off, and now we can shoot arrows. Was all of that time worth it? I guess we'll figure it out. But hey, in this game's supposed to be all about boss fights, so I introduce the Timekeeper's Master Smith. The smith who made the Gearborns to begin with. So he's like your father figure, and you have a Pinocchio and Mr. Geppetto relationship.
There was a cookie missing from the jar. Did you take it by any chance?
Yes, Papa Geppetto.
Are you sure you took it? I'd believe you if you said you didn't.
Not that kind anyway. If there's one thing that I'm good at, it's making boss fights. Like, I am so good at making the boss AI and the enemy AI in general. So, with a heavy coding montage, I made the boss work. Or not. Well, the way this boss moves is that he projects a bunch of invisible rays in 8 directions and checks for obstacles, then chooses the best way to move in order to get to the target. And this method is called steering behavior. Wait a minute? Steering behavior? You're telling us you use the theme spin even in the boss's behavior? Well, yeah, I'm a genius. More on steering behavior here. Anyway, I eventually managed to fix this boss, and he eventually got fixed. And then with another heavy code montage, I got the boss to choose and perform his chain of attacks wisely. What are you doing? Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, after fixing him, I made the biggest 3D model of my life, this boss arena. And here's how it looks like all together. Wait a minute. Was that a bug? Oh well. And then with a bunch of lighting and particle elements, I managed to finish the first boss, and it took me 13 days of my time. My scope is to make 5 bosses, and with half of the time gone and my upset ass, I wasn't sure if I could finish it. So for some reason I went incognito and made the second boss without recording the process. Wow, the present day script writing me wants to f the past me in the ass. Anyway, this is a clock guardian of the clock. The boss arena is a giant ass clock, and the boss is attached to the center of it, with his main weapons being these two clock hands that rotate in different speeds to add unpredictability. He also shoots out projectiles from time to time. And don't judge this boss. The fight can be an absolute chaos in the air. And at this point, with my limited time, I decided to go on a vacation. But don't let that fool you. Yeah, I don't have access to my PC, but I still have my old broken ass laptop. So I got working on the next boss. And after designing him, I realized with the amount of pressure that I put onto my laptop, its battery broke.
The Bluetooth device.
So anyway, after a 4-day trip, I came back home to make the rest of the fight. He's called the Gear Sentinel, a towering, muscular, steroid-eating mechanical sentinel that challenges you on spinning platforms and only focuses on ranged combat. Wow, all that muscle just to run away and attack from a distance like a pussy. But apparently it seems my words were too aggressive and his little mechanic heart couldn't handle the emotional damage and he just broke. Anyway, after fixing him, I added this new attack to the boss where he shoots out cannonballs in the air and the player has to dodge them based on their shadows. But I couldn't calculate the amount of force required for the cannonballs and he kept missing. Oh my god, I regret not taking physics classes so seriously. After tweaking the attack a little bit, I still couldn't fix it and decided to call this a boss and move on. On to the final boss, the Clockwork Overlord. He's another one of your kind, a Gearborn who has betrayed his purpose and is trying to possess the time, therefore bringing a new order into the world. But about the gameplay, there's not much to say since he's basically the first boss but with new and harder attack chains. The game's pretty much finished, but the one thing missing is a tutorial. Players are dumb, players are clueless of the mechanics of the game. Any game needs a proper tutorial. Therefore, I set up this quick tutorial session that isn't too hard either, so I don't get disqualified for making long, unbeatable levels. Do you know what makes a final boss badass? The cutscene.
But you already knew that.
And I've learned a few things based on my research that I want to share with you right now. If you want to make your boss powerful, you put him on a chair. If you want to make him powerful and smart and mysterious, you put your boss on a chair, but you rotate it so it faces the other way. In this case, since I was too busy to design a chair, I just rotated the boss and gave him some animations for the cutscene. Then I finished the main menu. But something is missing in this game. The story is pretty rich and good, but there's nothing in the game that even scratches the surface of it. So I recorded my voice and made this beginning cutscene, which, looking back at it, the Great Clock Tower. It feels cringe. Then, with a few hours left, I exported the game, and since I'm using Unity 6 and it's at its earliest stage, when the exporting process ended up with an error, Unity would automatically refresh the scene, making all the errors disappear and leaving me wondrous. So, Unity, if you're watching, please fix this. Then after exporting the game, I give it a try and it seems like the game works fine on higher frame rates like 200 or 300, but on 60 FPS, it just breaks. The bosses move super fast. But this was nothing I couldn't fix with a few minutes. Anyway, the game is finished and I submitted my game with nearly 9 hours left to my name. So, if you're interested, give this game a try and send me your feedbacks cause I might turn this into a full-on commercial release. I was playing some Game Jams games and realized there are many better games than mine, but I guess that doesn't matter since you already liked my video, right? You may also subscribe on your way there.